Hello and welcome back to Tutoring with Gavin. In this video tutorial, I'll be showing you how to write a grade 9 essay from the GCSE literature paper of 2018 on the novel Great Expectations by Charles Dickens. Here is the question. Read the following extract from chapter 8 of Great Expectations and then answer the question that follows. Starting with this extract, explore how far Dickens presents Miss Havisham as a cruel and bitter woman. Write about how Dickens presents Miss Havisham in this extract and how far Dickens presents Miss Havisham as a cruel and bitter woman in the novel as a whole. The first thing I would do if faced with this question is highlight the key words so that I'm absolutely sure I understand what's being asked of me. In this case, it's clear that the focus is on the character of Miss Havisham. To show how he presents her, I need quotations from the novel, and I will examine the imagery and literary devices used by Dickens. I would start by jotting down some prompts that I need to cover in this essay, which is purely guided by the mark scheme, which is the best way to understand what the exam board are looking for. In each paragraph, I'll check this list because this is how I'm rewarded with the marks. The prompts would include form and structure, genre, themes, setting, context, literary devices, effect on the reader, quotations or evidence, terminology, writer's ideas and purpose, personal response, and then a reminder to proofread for spellings, punctuation and grammar. Next, I'd plot out the key moments in the novel that answer the question, and I would synthesize these ideas into a sequence plan. So here is the essay. As with all Dickens stories, there is at least one character who represents a side of humanity that the author wishes to criticize. In Great Expectations, published in 1860, we are presented with Miss Havisham, who is portrayed as cruel and bitter. Life for women at the time could be cruel, as they had few rights and were considered second-class citizens in a patriarchal society. Estella has also been dealt a tough hand, raised alone by a strange woman with huge mental health issues. However, the contrast in imagery used with these two characters is striking and reflects their experiences. Estella is fair, young and pretty, compared with Havisham being corpse-like and like an ancient mummy that would turn to dust if struck by sunlight. Havisham's appearance reflects her state of mind, fragile and trapped in the past. Dickens uses this death imagery to show her cruelty and bitterness, just like Scrooge is portrayed as hard and cold in A Christmas Carol. In particular, her clothes are described in such a way that suggests this is a woman who has missed out on life. Her foot, for example, is covered with a silk stocking, once white, now yellow, trodden, ragged, and the withered bridal dress resembled grave clothes, with a long veil so like a shroud. Alongside the cruelty is a sadness. The shoe symbolises a life void of experiences, emotionally, physically and sexually. Everything about this character suggests she is dead inside. Even Havisham's garden is dead or decaying. None of the plants or flowers are growing, which is like wealth and the upper classes at that time, who only fed on the weak, draining them of life. Through this powerful imagery, the reader is both repulsed and transfixed by her appearance and behaviour. So in this opening paragraph, I've managed to get a lot of marks for the close analysis of the language and the mention of structure with contrast and how it affects the reader. But I've also introduced some important context, mentioned other relevant work by Dickens, and talked about the author's purpose and use of symbolism. When analysing the character of Miss Havisham, it's important to understand her symbolic value rather than focusing on her believability. Miss Havisham feeds off the twisted relationship between Estella and Pip in order to satisfy her sense of revenge on all men. This cruelty towards the children is effectively child abuse. She feeds on their vulnerability for her own gratification, which Dickens recognised in the dehumanising of the poor and young by the more powerful in society. Depersonalising human beings by using them as objects was seen by Dickens as a moral crime, and therefore Havisham could represent 19th century English society itself. I've continued with context and linked the symbolism with the author's purpose. Miss Havisham uses Estella as a weapon to achieve her own revenge on men, encouraged to entrap Pip and break his heart. Her own bitter experience with love as a young woman created a vengeful creature. There is no doubt that she perfectly idolised him. He practised on her in that systematic way that he got great sums of money from her. Unfortunately for Estella, her warped upbringing means that she is equally ill-equipped to spot the dangers in marrying Bentley Drummle. She has been conditioned to believe that she must find and catch a rich, eligible bachelor. Bentley Drummle appears on the surface to be the right choice. despite her awareness that he is not perfect. Miss Havisham has taught her that men are there to be manipulated and controlled to get what you want in life. Love doesn't enter into marriage at all, and so Estella is under no illusion as to what getting married to Drummle will be like. That girl's hard and haughty and capricious to the last degree, and has been brought up by Miss Havisham to wreak revenge on all the male sex. The alliterative wreak revenge suggests the legacy of cruelty. However, Estella's superficial understanding of human relationships receives a rude shock when she finds out just how abusive her new husband really is. It's only when she emerges from the shadows of Miss Havisham's malign influence that Estella's finally able to begin to understand the true meaning of love. Here I've explored some of the causes and effects of Havisham's cruelty in this paragraph, identifying and analysing a literary device. Equally abusive is Miss Havisham's treatment of the vulnerable Pip. Havisham tells him to love her, love her, love her. If she favours you, love her. If she wounds you, love her. If she tears your heart to pieces, love her, love her, love her. The repetition of love makes her statement so much more perverse, as if casting a spell on him. Her bitterness manifests itself in the need for others to suffer. She tells Pip, I'll tell you what real love is. It is blind devotion, unquestioning self-humiliation, utter submission, trust, and belief against yourself. Pip is aware that the love she refers to sounds like hate and revenge. It is like a curse rather than a blessing. This cruel influence fits well for this Bildungsroman novel, as the reader follows Pip's rites of passage from abused child to adult. So here I've managed to discuss another literary device and introduce the genre and its link with the effect on the reader. Miss Havisham and Satis House, both decaying, represent wealth and social status for Pip, but the dream is corrupt because it's a place where children are treated with such cruelty. Dickens is showing that the power she has is used malignly against the powerless, which he could see happening throughout his life with the upper classes against the working class poor. The contrast between Havisham and Magwitch is clear. She is cruel in her position of upper class power, while he has a challenging background but wants to use his eventual wealth to benefit others. So some context and writer's purpose linked with the structural device of contrast. What is most disturbing about Havisham is her perverse pleasure in corrupting the children's idea of love. Her festering anger, self-pity and desire for revenge is like a child who spites herself in order to show her anger with another. However, at the end of the novel, Miss Havisham's character arc is complete with her redemption as she realises that she has caused Pip's heart to be broken in the same manner as her own. Rather than achieving any kind of personal revenge, she has only caused more pain. In chapter 49 she tells Pip, I stole her heart away and put ice in its place. This metaphor of ice is used often by Dickens, but is successful in summarising her redemption by fire, which symbolically melts her own heart when she realises the hurt and damage she has caused. Miss Havisham begs Pip for forgiveness. I meant to save her from a misery like mine, which is reinforcing the novel's theme of guilt and redemption. Her death from burning could be Dickens telling his readers, through symbolism, that everyone can be spiritually enlightened, despite their crimes. Miss Havisham's effect on Pip and Estella is huge, and yet despite her malevolence, they survive, which provides a hopeful message about the human spirit. As readers, we start out hating Havisham, but ultimately feel some pity because of the way Dickens cleverly presents her both as a villain and victim. So here I've tried to conclude the question with a personal response and an evaluation of the themes and the author's message for the reader. I've also addressed structure and literary devices. Now don't forget to proofread. Firstly, read the essay backwards, isolating each word to check for spelling. Then read the essay aloud in your head, listening for any grammar mistakes. Here is a grade 9 description in the mark scheme. So to check whether I've achieved this top level, which will give me a grade 9, you need to ask these questions. Is this essay critical? Yes, this is critical because it closely analyses the text and forms a judgment at the end based on evidence I present. Is it exploratory? It is exploratory because it addresses the task in a focused way and tries to look at the issue from different perspectives that takes into account the writer's purpose. Is it a well-structured argument? Yes, because it's properly planned, with each point covered in a seamless sequence. Does it take a conceptualised approach to the full task? Yes, because the conclusions are complex and carefully considered. Is it supported by a range of judicious references? Yes, as I used quotes from the extract and novel as a whole that help explore the question effectively. Is there a fine-grained and insightful analysis of language and form and structure? Yes, because by zooming in on the imagery and the literary devices, it enables analysis on how Dickens affects the audience and by considering the key structural moments. Is there a judicious use of subject terminology? Yes, I've used terms like patriarchal, contrast, imagery, symbolism, theme, and Bildungsroman. Is there a convincing exploration of one or more ideas, perspectives, contextual factors, and interpretation? Yes, by exploring the theme of guilt and redemption and the context of the period in history in which the story was written. As with any essay, there are many choices you have to make, but ultimately you must answer the question in an imaginative way, showing that you understand that the text is a creation by a writer who had to make creative choices for the reader. If you show that understanding, then you will always be rewarded by the examiner. Well, I hope this has helped in your preparation for the exam. If you like the video, please give it a thumbs up and please subscribe to the channel so that I can continue to make these free tutorials. Until next time.